Hey guys, what's up? Hey Kimmy Love. Hey Patty. Hey Deb. Hey Great Dane. Hello Teresa. I always forget to put my hearing aids in for some reason. It's weird. I only ever remember when I'm about to go live. Which you'd think, hey cool gamer, that I'd remember all the time considering it's annoying with the ringing in the ears and stuff. I'm gonna turn into iced tea just like Patty's gonna turn into chocolate. I've never seen a girl so obsessed with chocolate before. Like you, Deb, I'm telling you. Sorry, Miss Press. Alrighty. You're here on time and you can chat. Yay! Oh, fuck. Please tell me I paid it. Oh, hell no, I didn't. No, Nikki, no. Whoops. Hey, Amanda. Hey, Mama 3. Oh, you're watching the Super Bowl? Yeah, it's like a big thing today. Oh my God, ghosts are already starting, I swear to God. I'm home alone. Leland's not home yet. Hold on a minute. I need to make sure that it's at least a cat. I'm hoping. Hey, Junior. Yeah, it wasn't the cats. They're all sleeping. So whatever the hell it is throwing shit in my kitchen. It's always my goddamn kitchen. Anyways, I put my crystal on. I haven't been able to sleep all night. Ever since last night when like I played that EVP. That was nuts. Yeah, it just started up as soon as I came on here. It was like something was thrown a couple times, but there's nothing thrown. As it makes you feel crazy because this fucking thing, it likes to throw things. You can hear it, but when you go out to look and see what it is, there's never anything there. So it makes you feel crazy. I know I'm not crazy. There's no, like, I heard it. Yeah, already starting. I put my crystal on. The pink one here. Hopefully it helps. I got my other one right there. And of course, Leland's not here. Still with his dad. And Dilly's in the kitchen now. All right, I'm just gonna ignore it. All right, right now we're on chapter 15, and this one's called Traces. The Spangler case was another open and unsolved file in the LAPD Homicide Division. I can't remember what the Spangler case was. There were several significant parallels to the Black Dahlia case, with one major exception. They never found the body. Okay. Jean Spangler was a statuesque 27-year-old brunette who had always been one of Mark Hansen's girls at the Florentine Gardens, where she worked as a dancer in 1947. Okay, so we're just getting. I think you did. Yes, you did. So it was one of Mark Hansen girls at the Florentine Gardens. She was a dancer in 1947. Like Elizabeth and so many other wannabes, Jean made every effort to meet the right people and be seen in all the right places. Becoming a girlfriend of Bugsy Siegel's henchman, Mickey Cohen, she was escorted by Cohen to a number of Hollywood night spots. Slapsy Maxie's, LaRue's, Ciro's the Mocambo, and they soon became a member of the Extras Guild and started getting bit parts in movies. While waiting for that big break, both Elizabeth and Jean seem to have traveled through the same circus corridors on their road to infamous fame. Jean, too, hung around Brittenham's restaurant next to Columbia Studios, hoping to become a Columbia starlet. Jean was promised a screen test by Maurice Clement's boss, Max Arnow, who had introduced her to the head of the studio, Harry Cohn. Several weeks before she vanished, film star Robert Cummings, who was working at Columbia on The Petty Girl, had spotted Jean on the set where she was working as a bit player. They became casual acquaintances, and Cummings told police that he was sitting on his dressing room steps when he saw her walk by, happily whistling a tune. Okay, so we're just getting introduced to this girl. Hey, Kimmy. Did you hear the cupboard just now? Oh, wow, she's gorgeous. This girl is Jean Spangler. I'll put the photos in as I usually do, but I wanted to show you. Yeah, I'm not good with this. Yeah. She's pretty, eh? Like that old style Hollywood gorgeousness. So the guy says to her, "You sound happy," he recalled saying to her. "I am," she replied. "I have a new romance." "Is it serious?" Cummings inquired. "Not really, but I'm having the time of my life," Jean responded. Robert Cummings said he didn't know the identity of the new boyfriend, but it was rumored to be film star Kirk Douglas, who Jean had met while working as a bit player on Young Man with a Horn. Like Elizabeth Short, Jean Spangler suddenly became famous and made the headlines, but not in the way that she had dreamed. On Wednesday, October 7th, 1949, Jean Spangler vanished and was never seen again. On that Wednesday evening, she told her sister-in-law Sophie she was going to be out late because she was working on a movie that was shooting at night. When Jean had not returned to her Park La Brea apartment at 6216 Colgate Avenue by late the next day, Sophie filed a missing persons report at the Wilshire Division of the LAPD. Believing that the missing girl would probably show up, the Wilshire police didn't bother to send a missing report out on the teletype. But on Friday, October 9th, a groundskeeper at Griffith Park, Hugh Anger, found Jean Spangler's purse near the park's entrance on Ferndale Road. Now, I have a problem with this because if the Black Dahlia happened before Jean, or is it relatively the same? Hold on. I think it, yeah, Elizabeth was already gone. Like if they're saying that the Black Dahlia thing already happened, right? So why wouldn't they want to inquire about Jean? There's missing women all over the place. So they found Jean's purse near the park entrance on Ferndale Road. Seeing that one end of the double straps had been ripped from the purse, police suspected that a struggle had occurred. You think? I mean, come on now. um, a purse is either if it has to be lost or if it's ripped like that. Like I don't know. Everything in this whole fucking case is botched. The contents of the purse seem to have been undisturbed, however, and among the items found inside was a note in Jean's handwriting. What does this say? Kirk, can't wait any longer. Going to see Dr. Scott. It will. Dr. Scott? Oh my God. It will work best this way while mother is away. Holy shit. What happened to Elizabeth Short? Had to have been a doctor. This girl was going to see a doctor, and Elizabeth Short was pregnant. What if she was pregnant and that's why she disappeared too? Oh my god. So she wrote to Kirk, "Can't wait any longer. Going to see Dr. Scott. It will work best this way while mother is away." Jean's mother, Miss Florence Spangler, who was visiting relatives in Kentucky when her daughter vanished, told the police that she thought her daughter had been murdered. On October 12, 1949, the Daily News ran a story headline, "Mother Sure Film Player Murdered." The mother of film actress Jean Spangler, who mysteriously disappeared 5 days ago, said today she is convinced her daughter has been murdered and gave police the name of the man she thought responsible for the girl's death. "I am sure this man hired somebody to do away with my daughter," said Mrs. Florence Spangler, who arrived here today from a vacation in Kentucky. Police refused to reveal the name of the man named by Miss Spangler, but said they had already questioned him at some length. Kirk Douglas, is this like Douglas Douglas? Hey, Simply Becklin. I don't know. The man was said to be Kirk Douglas. Douglas had been questioned at length by Finis Brown's brother, Detective Thad Brown, who had reason to suspect that Kirk, in Jean's note, was the Hollywood actor. Douglas and his attorney denied that he knew Jean Spangler or had ever dated her. However, Jean's mother adamantly insisted that Douglas had picked Jean up at their apartment on at least two separate occasions. And the letter she wrote is to Kirk. You got creepy on your face. So it is Michael Douglas's mother. That's what I thought. So I'm like, Douglas Douglas? Really? So Jean's mother adamantly insisted that Douglas had picked Jean up at their apartment on at least two separate occasions. Moreover, one of Jean's friends told the police that Kirk Douglas had dated Jean often, and others stated that they had recently seen them together at a party. Under further questioning, Douglas admitted that he had forgotten he may have met her on the set of Young Man with the Horn, and he had forgotten that he may have asked her out on a date or two. Bullshit. Bullshit. She's your kind of girl, right? He took that secret to his grave. Do you think he did it? I wonder if Michael ever talked about it. There's like so much research that I feel I need to do in order to get the answers that I'm looking for because this whole book, it's amazing, but it's everybody's involved that you wouldn't think would be involved. It's crazy. Now Michael Douglas's father was dating one of these victims? Like what? Although Gina told her sister-in-law Sophie that she was working on a movie the night she left her apartment and never returned, police investigators found no record of a film that was shooting on the night of October 7th. Yeah, but at this point, the police could be lying. Yeah, I never heard a thing about it either. What, like she said, he took that to his grave. He was a huge movie icon. Yeah. Well, so is his son. He might not have known if he dated her or not. I don't think he did. I do think he dated her. Yeah, me too. When questioned by detectives, several of Jean's friends confirmed that she was 3 months. Oh my God, she was pregnant. This is fucked. Oh my God. When questioned by detectives, several Jean's friends confirmed that she was 3 months pregnant at the time she vanished, and they suspected she was headed for a rendezvous with the Hollywood abortionist Dr. Scott. Oh my God. And that's what that note said. She said she was going to see Dr. Scott. Oh my God. Two murders by an abortionist. Uh, so they suspected she was headed for a rendezvous with the Hollywood abortionist Dr. Scott while her mother was out of town. Some believe that Dr. Scott had botched the operation, and when the victim died, her body was disposed of, perhaps buried in Griffith Park. But that didn't explain how her purse ended up on the street or why the straps had been torn as if she had been in a struggle. Death by violence is indicated in her disappearance. Detective Thad Brown tersely observed. In the week before she vanished, a witness stated that Jean had been in Palm Springs, where Kirk Douglas had been vacationing. Yeah. Yeah, that's what we thought too, Becca. We thought it was a rumor. No, we found out that she was actually pregnant. They tried to hide it. Now this one is pregnant. Like, what the? So Jean was seen at the resort in the company of David Little Davy Ogle, a Mickey Cohen henchman. By coincidence, Little Davy Ogle also vanished forever. Holy shit. 2 days after Jean's mysterious disappearance. This is insane. Hey, Wandering Spirit, how are ya? When little Davy's abandoned Cadillac was later found in West Los Angeles, Mickey Cohen made the comment, I'm afraid that guy ain't living. He was swallowed up. Police investigators learned that Jean had met with somebody on the evening of Tuesday, October 6th. Friends had seen her in front of the town and country market near her apartment, and they told the police that she got into a sedan that had driven into the market parking lot. Oh my God, if it's a black one, a black sedan, that's the same one that Elizabeth Short got into. It's good to see you. I'm glad you guys are here. It's awesome. This book, you'll see I've got more lives on this book, the Black Dahlia files. So if you're interested, whenever you're cooking or cleaning or whatever, play the other lives and you'll hear me because yeah, I'm halfway through, but you can go back and listen to the rest. And this is amazing, just the stuff we're learning. So now that is crazy. As if I remember the movie never even covered that. The case had been something I've been wanting to hear more. Yeah, me too. That's why I had to get this book. I think all this is insane. So police investigators learned that Jean had met with somebody on the evening of Tuesday, October 6th. Friends had seen her in front of the town and country market near her apartment, and they told the police that she had got into a sedan and had driven into the market parking lot. On Wednesday evening, the night that she disappeared, she was seen at the Cheese Box restaurant at 8033 Sunset Boulevard by Al the Sheik Lazar, a Hollywood radio personality who knew Jean and did a nightly live radio broadcast from the Cheese Box. Lazar said he saw her sitting on at a booth, with two men he didn't recognize at about midnight. Upon approaching the table to interview Jean, he noted that she appeared to be arguing with the two men, and one of the men abruptly waved him away, indicating they did not want to be interrupted. Lazar said he veered away and didn't attempt to conduct the interview because of the argument that was going on. Terry Taylor, the proprietor of the cheese box, confirmed Lazar's recollection of Jean being there with two unidentified men and said that they had left together about midnight. It was the last time Jean Spangler was seen alive or dead. Wow. Every single sedan was black? Or every single car in the 40s? If so, that would suck. Shortly after the disappearance of Jean Spangler, Kirk Douglas arrived at the entry of Columbia Studios to meet with his new flame, actress Evelyn Keyes. Assuming that the studio guard would know who he was, Douglas proceeded to walk into the studio entry. However, the guard stopped him. Sorry, you're not allowed to go in, the guard said. What do you mean I'm not allowed to go in? I'm Kirk Douglas. Oh, he's one of those. Do you know how I am? You know what you're doing at the end of the night. They did. Okay, so they did have other colors. So that's crazy. It's a black sedan that picked her up as well. Hey, Alberta. I mean, that's crazy. I have an invitation from Evelyn Keyes. There must be some mistake. Sorry, but those are my orders. Who gave you those orders? Kirk demanded to know. Harry Cohn. Douglas said he was flabbergasted and had no idea why Cohen had barred him from the lot, but an associate of Mac's heir later relented. Cohen had been furious over the death of his starlet, Jean Spangler, and blamed all of it on Kirk Douglas. Two rumors have persisted through the years as to what happened to Jean Spangler. Are you kidding me? I didn't know any of this shit. Number one, here's the first rumor. Kirk Douglas had a romance with Jean, which I completely believe, and she became pregnant. Yep, I believe that too. 3 months into her pregnancy, she contacted Dr. Scott, a known Hollywood abortionist. Scott accidentally botched the illegal abortion. Jean died, and the remains were hidden. I think that would be it. But the purse strap. When Mickey Cohen heard that Jean was pregnant, he got greedy and sent one of his boys, little Davy Ogle, to shake down Kirk in Palm Springs. When Kirk's agent Charlie Fieldman heard about the shakedown of his rising star, he told Harry Cohen's pal, John Rosalie. Rosalie talked it over with Jack Dragna, and the problem was quickly solved. Nobody was ever bothered again by Jean Spangler or Mickey's goon, little Davy. So again, the mob was involved. This is a freaking huge rabbit hole. Yeah, the purse could have been a red herring too. Detective Thad Brown have checked. 2. Death by violence indicated in her disappearance, he had observed. The disappearance of Jean Spangler and her mother's insistence that she had been murdered came in an awkward time for Police Chief Horrell and the upper echelons of the LAPD. Solving the Spangler case was not expedient for the powers that be at City Hall. Her disappearance came right in the middle of the 1949 grand jury investigation into unsolved crimes in Los Angeles and contingent payoffs by the underworld to police officials. Some of the payoffs had allegedly been from a syndicate abortion ring involving Dr. Scott. The Los Angeles grand jury investigation of 1949 evolved from the growing concern of the average citizen over rampant crime and corruption within the city. The motto of the LAPD was to protect and serve, but the public began demanding to know who exactly the police were protecting and serving. In a speech to law enforcement, officers J. Edgar Hoover had stated, "When big city rackets and criminal elements are allowed to operate with impunity, you can be sure that the city officials are receiving payoffs." What a crazy time. The unsolved murder of Bugsy Siegel had not ended the Senate strip wars. They had continued with numerous gangland killings and attempts to assassinate Siegel's successor, Mickey Cohen. Cohen seemed to have a charmed life. Bombs were set off under his Brentwood home. Holy. His black Cadillac was riddled with machine gun bullets. Shotguns blasted at him on the Sunset Strip, but a guardian devil seemed to be looking over the padded shoulders of his numerous pastel silk suits. Jeez, so you're what? Bombs going off in his home, and he was riddled with machine gun bullets in his Cadillac. Wow. In 1948, Mickey Cohen took over a three-story building on the Sunset Strip and called it Michael's Exclusive Haberdashery. Located at 8092 Holloway Drive, the haberdashery was Mickey's fortress, headquarters for his bookmaking activities. On the night of August 19th, 1948, Mickey was sitting in the haberdashery office having a discussion with three of his henchmen, Jimmy Wrist, Albert Slick Cinder, and Harry Hooky Rothman. When the conversation concluded at about 10:30 p.m., Hooky walked in the front door to leave, and Cohen, who was a compulsive hand washer, walked to the washroom. As Hooky opened the door on the Sunset Boulevard, two gunmen lunged toward him, one with a shotgun, the other with a revolver. Wow. Without saying a word, the men with the shotgun aimed it at Hooky's head, and pulled the trigger, blasting away his face and killing him instantly. Albert Snyder was still sitting at Cohen's desk in the inner office talking to Jimmy Wrist when he heard the gunfire. The man with the revolver ran into the office shouting, "Where is that son of a bitch?" and without waiting for an answer, shot Snyder in the chest. These people are ruthless. Jimmy Riss told reporters that the guy with the pistol shot Slick. I was already up in the air. I made a grab for him. I got my right hand on the barrel and my left hand on the butt of the gun, and we went to the floor. I was still twisting with the pistol. When the fellow with the shotgun fired at me, I could see his big thing coming. Looked like a cannonball. That's when he shot off my ear and everything went blurry. In the meantime, the son of a bitch was in the washroom compulsively washing his hands. When the shooting started, it sounded like a war broke out, Cohen recalled. I laid myself down on the washroom floor so my foot was holding the door shut, and my body was against the tile so I'd have some protection. After it quieted down and I looked out, Slick was laying by the desk screaming, "Get me a doctor, get me an ambulance." Then I went out the front door and saw Hooky laying there. I seen he was dead. The shooting on the Sunset Strip led to further public outcry and demand in the editorials of the Los Angeles Daily News for a grand jury investigation into the gang wars, racketeering, and series of unsolved murders that plagued the city. While the Los Angeles Times editorialized that there was no need for a grand jury investigation, the Los Angeles Daily News stated in an editorial titled "In the Jungles of LA." The Mickey Cohen gangland shootings affair is another indication that the jungle is creeping up on the greater Los Angeles. There have been other signs over the past several years. The employers of violence, the vice promoters, the shakedown artists, and gambling tycoons have moved into the Los Angeles area, made it profitable, stand for graft and robbery. What needs to be known is the relative possibility of various local law enforcement agencies for the Los Angeles area's inevitable reputation as a mobster's paradise. Adding to the crisis looming ahead for law enforcement was Sergeant Stoker's arrest of Brenda Allen. Although we have been warned by gangster squad officers Archie Case and James Ahern to seize his Brenda Allen investigation, Stoker proved to be more than an honest cop. He became a crusader. When Stoker received death threats and vows of brutal retaliation if he did not remain silent and close down his investigation, he realized that the Vice Queen's empire extended into the towers of City Hall. He defied superiors and on September 11th, 1948, brought Daily News reporters with him on an arrest raid at Brenda Hollywood's. Sorry. He brought the Daily News reporters with him on an arrest raid at Brenda's Hollywood Hills hideaway. Man, he's got balls. Placed under arrest by Sergeant Stoker, Brenda Allen shields her face from the camera as she is escorted from a house in the Hollywood Hills along with one of the callgirls. This is that one here. I'll put these on the community tab. Is it buffering? I think it's me too. Like sometimes I'm moving and it's just like stuck. With mayoral elections coming in November of 1949, Chandler's man, Mayor Fletcher Bowron, and the Los Angeles Times tried to block the growing demand for investigation into civic corruption, but public outrage led to the investigation of the grand jury process. Among the subjects proposed to be investigated by the 1949 grand jury were the Sunset Strip Wars, the Brenda Allen prostitution ring scandal, the syndicate abortion ring, and the numerous unsolved murders of young women, including the infamous Black Dahlia case. Alarmed by the looming grand jury investigation, Chief Horrell, Assistant Chief Joe Reed, and Gangster Squad Captain Willie Burns made a Herculean effort to derail the impending investigation into the murder of Elizabeth Short. Why? Like, why? Soon after the 1949 grand jury was impaneled, and it was revealed that the Black Dahlia case would be among the unsolved crimes being investigated, Los Angeles Police Chief Clemens B. Horrell tried to take it off the jury agenda by making the dramatic announcement that the LAPD had finally apprehended the psychopathic killer of Elizabeth Short. What? So they fucking made it up. Oh my God, that is disgusting. So this guy they claimed murdered her, which didn't. They just did that so they didn't have to have the Black Dahlia case investigated. Clearly they were in on it. Oh my God, Alberta. People are so awful. On January 10th, 1949, 28-year-old Leslie Dillon, a hotel bellhop, was arrested on suspicion of murdering Elizabeth Short. And Chief Hall stated, "There's no doubt in my mind that Dillon is the hottest suspect there has ever been in this case. Police staff, psychiatrist, psychiatrist, Dr. Paul DeRiver proclaimed that Dillon was a psychopath." Yeah, okay. Who knew more about the Dahlia murder than the police did and more about abnormal sex psychop psychopathia than more psychologists. I'm just in awe here. After being booked and paraded before reporters and photographers at a chaotic press conference in which Dillon pleaded hysterically for help, the public was quickly led away in handcuffs by 5 armed guards. Sorry, the suspect. A district attorney spokesman announced, "We're not going to let anybody talk to him, except ourselves, until we got a closed case." But the case against Dillon never closed, and the Dillon episode became one of the more bizarre chapters in the Black Dahlia Twilight Zone. I never heard of this. Yeah, if you see a cardinal, it's supposed to be one of your loved ones. Mhm. The case against Dillon was orchestrated by Dr. Paul DeRiver, one of the most unusual figures within the Los Angeles Police Department. Allegedly, he was a psychiatrist. So don't even know if he was a psychiatrist. DeRiver was a friend of Chief Horrell. Then there you go. He was a pretend psychiatrist who had appointed DeRiver as psychiatric consultant to the LAPD. As chief of the so-called Sex Office Bureau, what was that? As chief of the so-called sex office bureau, DeRiver was in charge of assembling files on sex crimes and keeping cross-references on every known sex offender. Although he was a civil servant and not a police officer, as a close friend of Chief Horrell, he became an enforcer within the department and was instrumental in bringing about the false charges against Leslie Dillon in what became known as the Dillon catastrophe. Yeah. According to Dillon, the charges brought against him started when he wrote a letter to Dr. DeRiver on October 1946 expressing his interest in the Black Dahlia case. At the time, Dillon was an aspiring mystery writer living with his wife and baby in Florida. While working as bellhop in a Miami hotel, he had read an article in a detective magazine and quoted DeRiver in his analysis of the pathological nature of the Black Dahlia case. In his letter to the River about the murder, Dillon mentioned that he had closely followed the case because he was living in Los Angeles at the time. Expressing his own convictions about the pathological nature of his crime, Dillon stated that a friend of his, Jeff Connors, had once met Elizabeth Short at a Hollywood bar and might be helpful to the police. After reading the bellhop's letter, DeRiver telephoned Dillon, who was surprised to hear the police psychiatrist found his analysis of the crime to be of value. DeRiver told Dillon he was interested in talking to him further. Former homicide detective Sergeant Stephen Bailey, who was working the Dahlia case, recalled that Dillon had written to River at about the time, in 1949, grand jury was considering looking into the Black Dahlia murder. Bailey recalled that there was a lot of pressure within the department to deflect the grand jury investigation. Only an arrest of a Bible suspect could conceivably stop the grand jury from placing the Black Dahlia case on its calendar. At the time, DeRiver was first contacted by Dillon and then personally talked to him. We were getting more and more flack about the unsolved killing, Sergeant Bailey said. It was the cause and effect of circumstances. Some showing had to be put on to get us out of the red. Hey, Faith. The showing proved to be an attempt by the Los Angeles Police Department to fame Leslie Dillon for the murder of Elizabeth Short. When DeRiver informed Chief Horrell of the letter from Dillon in a subsequent telephone conversation, Horrell, along with Assistant Chief Joe Reed and Willie Burns of the Gangster Squad, hatched a scheme to arrest Dillon. Of course they did. They needed someone to blame so that nobody would look into the Black Dahlia case because they would find out that not only the mob, but the cops and this and that and everybody, oh my God. Unable to extradite Dillon from Florida without evidence, they decided to lure Dillon to California, where they would arrest him for the Black Dahlia murder and forcibly coerce him into signing a confession. This is sick. And the police are in on it? Initiating several telephone conversations with Dillon, DeRiver spoke in depth to him about the nature of his crime, the site on Norton where the body was discovered, the findings within the autopsy report, and the depraved mindset of the killer. DeRiver then proceeded to disclose to Dillon aspects of the murder that only the killer would know. What a fucker. Wow. Like, seriously? They set this guy up to take the fall for the Black Dahlia murder, knowing he didn't do it. The police set him up. The law set him up. And the law, that includes jurors, that includes like what the fuck? Cops, chiefs, you name it. Also that the actual police who are not on this payroll and not involved with the mob would won't investigate what really happened to the Black Dahlia. Now that's some effed up crap. Oh, thank you, Faith, for becoming a member. I appreciate that. Thank you. Like that just disgusts me. Like everything is moving in here tonight. You heard that too, Jack? I need to grab my crystal. I don't know. Shit's going on over here, over there, back there. Oh, over here as well. Yeah, right, buddy? Come over here. So initiating several so to have ugh, sorry. Initiating several telephone conversations with Dylan, Devere spoke in depth to him about the nature of the crime. So he was telling him all about the findings within the autopsy report and the depraved mindset of the killer. DeRiver then proceeded to disclose to Dylan aspects of the murder that only the killer would know. Sick bastard. Yeah, is it really Kimmy? Oh my God. Mine is too. You should hear it. Okay, so went live last night. It was for members only, and I don't know, we were talking about Dybbuk boxes, haunted dolls, um, cryptids, you name it. We were having a hunky dory little conversation here, and then all of a sudden, this voice, and it sounded, it wasn't English, I don't think, because none of us can understand it. and it was like it was very throaty and froggy, like 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 that, and we don't know what the fuck it said, and it scared the shit out of me. Ever since then, oh my god, I couldn't sleep last night. Every time I would try, I'd have a nightmare. I was so restless. But yeah, so stuff's happening like all around. As soon as I started this live stream, something got thrown in the kitchen, something got thrown up against over there. It's just like, leave me alone. My kitty's with me. She's purring away. She's fine. Yeah, it was strange. That noise. I don't. Stating that he was impressed with Dylan's knowledge of the crime and its pathology, DeRiver told Dylan he would be interested in hiring him as an assistant in the sex offense bureau at the LAPD, and perhaps they could work together on a book about the Dahlia case. Man, they set this guy up good. Then offered to meet Dylan in Las Vegas and said he would send him plane tickets and arrange his accommodations. I flew to Las Vegas where he was waiting at the airport, Dylan recalled. DeRiver then offered to drive Dylan to Los Angeles in his chauffeured, unmarked police limousine. The chauffeur was Lieutenant Willie Burns of the Gangster Squad, who was recording Dylan's conversations. That is sick. It opened and shut your door, tossed my plates and bowls off my counter, turned on my dishwasher, stove, microwave, oven. Holy shit. My stuff gets thrown around. My stuff goes missing. And yeah, my stovetop burners get lapped on. Hi, having a cow. No, don't be sorry. Don't ever be sorry. Like stuff happens all the time. My dog got between me and whatever it is, was ready to fight it. It is scary. Your son got a picture of it? Can you send it? Like, would you let me show it here? I'd love to. And a white face with a black sunken eyes with an oh my god, really? Shit. I can play the sound for you guys right now and then get back to this book. It's just scary as hell. Yeah, that's like they were talking through their throat, and to you it sounded like they said, "Oh yeah, yuck." Yeah, because I was talking about this doll that actually had human hair. It scratched a cow skull with demon horns on my wood, and three scratches, three knocks, threes is horrible. Yeah, you should show me if you'd like to, absolutely. I put it on my if you guys want to hear it as well again, I put it on my channel for shorts. Sorry, here it is. It's at the very end. What the fuck is that? Oh, I'm glad you're with your dog, Heavenly. Yeah, we were talking about cryptids and dolls. We were at the point of we were talking about all these famous haunted dolls, and we came across one named oh shit, what the hell is the name of it? I'm gonna yeah, I have been doing that, Alberta, because I'm scared that it's gonna catch on something on fire. Do you want to hear it again? It's almost like it sounds like, oh yeah, yuck, but there's no proper pronunciation. I don't get it.
Really one of the scariest looking haunted
And
dolls
it
out there.
echoes.
The chance.
That's creepy as shit. See, I can't see on StreamYard if anybody has done anything. Oh, I looked, somebody said, thank you, Faith, for that. Aw, Faith, thanks for, so you gifted memberships? Thank you, sweetie. That's amazing. I love when people do that for their channels. And yeah, I'm like buffering and everything is going really slow tonight. I can see it in here. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. I'm just gonna blame the ghosts. That prick in here. And my sage keeps disappearing. Every time I find it, and then I put it in a special spot, it's gone. You donated 5? Thank you. You think it's trying to talk to me? You can't hear what, Patty? That creepy ass EVP? I'd love to, Kimmy. I'd love to have you on panel, or I'm not sure if you have a channel or not. If any of you guys have a channel, let me know because we like to put them in here for everyone to sign up for. Yeah, I grew up in a haunted house and now, yeah, it's on my short now, Patty. I grew up in a haunted house and now I'm living in one and I live by a haunted graveyard. You have to go deal with Stella. She's going crazy. Okay. So just check it out if you want. Oh, and I when I did the Sylvia Likens live, or the video, sorry, I found finally the um the EVP where she says, "Help, help me." Oh, you couldn't hear it on your end? That's weird. Seriously? What the fuck? Simply Becca has a channel. Is it just your name? It's called Simply Becca. Can Patty or Teresa help find her channel so we can post it and post Debs while we're at it too? All right, I'll try this again. So it echoes a lot and it's not till the very end, so I'm going to keep it really low because the person I had on panel, her dog Junior likes to snore, so that's all you hear, but at the very end, no, I don't trust it. It's Simply Becca Lynn. Okay, can one of my mods please post that for me? That way I can also subscribe. Everybody's green. That's amazing. I do have crystals. I do. Actually, a lot of my members have sent me things. I have a spirit box and I've got crystals. Yeah. The one thing in here is, I know it's like it's a male spirit. It hates me. It's ugh, thank you. So I do have that. You miss her so much. I know, I can just imagine, Heavenly. I'm so sorry you're going through this. 15 memberships. Holy crap, woman. Thank you. I love it though when the more I like doing our members only lives. I don't know, I find them better. Like what we did last night. We were on here for almost 5 hours just talking, having a good old time. I loved it. I researched for the script. Demons will lie. Yep. And make you believe they're in need of help or they're a little girl. Oh shit. Becca Lynn has a channel. Somebody posted up here, I believe. Wandering Spirit posted it, but can you post it, the link? Thank you, though. That's amazing. All right, I'm gonna try to play this again. Could you hear that? It was fun. It was really fun.
The child-sized figurine is said to be 100 years old and is.
Can you hear that? My big fat mouth? Oh, that's what she does? Oh, hell yeah. Fuck's sakes, now there's something over there. There's something over there. Stop it. Okay.
Made of hardwood. Human hair.
Here. Did you hear it? It's like, yeah, yeah. I didn't even hear it. My audience had to tell me. No, I'm glad you did. Thank you, Great Dane. What do you mean you're not a real mod? Yeah, you are. I made you a mod, remember? And I kept you as a mod. Silly girl. Can I drop my email? Sure. I'm just thinking, what the hell is it? I think that's it. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. It's hard to get, yeah. That's amazing. I'd love to work on that with you. All right, I'll try this again.
Really one of the scariest looking.
Okay, here it is. It's gonna be loud. Like, what the fuck is that? We never have trouble. No, I'm keeping, yeah, you thought it was just to drop links in chat. No, you're a mod. So there was Becca's channel. There was, no, I have not blessed my own. Yeah, it sounds like I have someone trying to communicate. I don't know what, I don't know what kind of language that is, but it's scary as hell. Pendulum and oracle and tarot readings. I have a pendulum and I do have tarot cards too. I don't do that stuff anymore though because I'm too scared. I want to stay away from it. It's bad enough. I don't have to do fuck all. All right, I'm going to continue on here where the hell I was. He then offered to meet Dylan in Las Vegas and said he would send him plane tickets to arrange his accommodations. I flew to Las Vegas where he was waiting at the airport. Dylan recalled. DeRiver then offered to drive Dylan to Los Angeles in his chauffeured unmarked police limousine. The chauffeur was Lieutenant Willie Burns of the Gangster Squad. He was recording Dylan's conversations. On the way to Los Angeles, Dylan recalled that they once spoke again in depth about the Dahlia murder and went over Dylan's informed theories and insight into the pathology involved. So this fake psychiatrist, DeRiver, asked how Dylan's friend Jeff Connors happened to meet Elizabeth Short at a Hollywood bar and suggested that when Dylan was talking about Connors, he may have actually been talking about himself. The conversation then took an abrupt turn to the possibility that Dylan could be mentally unstable and that his underlying subconscious pathology may have led him into talking to the police about such a bizarre case. Like you think? Yeah, if any of you guys have a channel, drop links. We always do that here. We try to support each other. So don't wait for me to tell you. There I know a little bit of history. I know that where I live, it used to be like a sand dune, like sand hills and all that stuff. And then during the war, World War II, I believe, I think it was World War II, they built all these houses for the army and stuff. And I'm in one of them apparently. And a woman died here, but the woman that died here was I know her son. So I was told she's very nice. I feel like she's almost protective or something. Sometimes I do hear her voice. I will, Kimmy. The conversation right away became more and more psychological on his part, Dylan remembered, and when we got to the town of Banning and stopped in a motel, the doctor told me out of a clear sky that he believed I had murdered Elizabeth Short. The chauffeur then snapped handcuffs on Dylan, making the beginning of an incredible journey through the smoggy twilight zone of Los Angeles. Judas Prudence, Dylan recalled the following. They kept me in the motel room until 3 or 4 other men arrived, and then they began to question me. In the middle of it, DeRiver insisted I was too knowledgeable and too intelligent to conceal the truth from myself. Meanwhile, this so-called psychiatrist was the one who told this Dylan guy all the facts that nobody else knew. I said I didn't know what I'd be concealing from myself, and he said facts too painful to remember. Then he began to ask me intimate details about the mutilations and the things that had been done to the Dahlia. But the only things I knew about them was what I read in the papers and from the detective magazine, what D. River had told me. But D. River would ask me a question and then put the answer right in my mouth. This is sick. Unable to locate Jeff Connors, Dylan's supposed friend, who had once met Elizabeth Short, DeRiver maintained that Connors was an aberration, a schizoid extension of Dylan's self. Transported from Banning to the Strand Hotel in Los Angeles by Archie Case and James Ahern of the Gangster Squad, Dylan's grilling went on for a week. I couldn't talk to anyone, Dylan recalled. I couldn't make a call to my wife or try to find a lawyer or anyone to help me. They just kept questioning me. They wouldn't stop. They made me take off all my clothes and took photographs of me stripped naked. Oh my God. While they had me handcuffed to a radiator, they kept on with the questioning. They got really nasty, trying to force Dylan to confess. Case and Hearn told Dylan they'd been tracking him for 2 years and could blast away all of his alibis. The River told Dylan that he must confess that he had done something so horrible, that he had driven awareness of the murder into his subconsciousness, and that confession was the only way he could avoid going totally mad. Dylan was told if he confessed and faced what he had done, he would not be treated as a criminal, but as somebody who was mentally ill. He, De River, the psychiatrist, wanted me to confess that I'd killed the Dahlia, and I couldn't confess to it, Dylan recalled. But they had me just about convinced I was crazy or something, and that maybe I did kill the Dahlia, and then just forgot about it. In a moment of desperation, Dylan managed to write a note on a postcard about his plight and dropped it from the hotel window to the street below. What a smart guy. Thank you, Wandering Spirit. Yeah, that was not a woman speaking. You're right, Kimmy. I hope not, Faith. So this was the note this poor guy dropped from the window. The note was addressed to the Los Angeles attorney Jerry Geisler and read, I am being held in room 219 and 21 Strand Hotel in connection with the Black Dahlia murder by Dr. J.P. DeRiver. As far as I can tell, I would like legal counsel. Leslie Dillon. The next day, Dylan was taken to Central and ushered into the office of Chief Horrell by Burns, Ahern, and DeRiver. Hollow informed Dylan that he was being booked for the murder of Elizabeth Short. He was then led away for further interrogation and inducements to confess. It went on for about 10 hours, Dylan said. I was losing track of what was happening. I kept insisting I hadn't killed her, but the doctor tried again and again and again to convince me that I was blocking out the truth and that it was necessary for me to confess the truth and be free of the troubles I was feeling. It was like a nightmare. These lengths to go to make someone crazy like that, to actually say that they killed this woman just so they can cover their tracks, because of a fucking sex ring and police being paid off and gangs and mobs and like this is gross. The day after Dylan was booked and paraded before the press, someone had found the postcard Dylan had dropped from the Strand Hotel window, and it was forwarded to Jerry Geisler's office. One of Geisler's attorneys contacted Dylan's mother, who subsequently retained Geisler to file a writ of habeas corpus. Shortly after Dylan's arrest, the case against Dylan began falling apart. Witnesses placed Dylan in San Francisco at the time of the Black Dahlia murder, and employment records confirmed he was working at San Francisco Hotel as a bellhop on the day in question. These people are sick. Geisler's investigators established that Dylan and his wife had not moved to Los Angeles until January 24th, 1947, and his friend Jeff Connors proved to not be an aberration, but found to be living in the Bay Area. Connors verified to Geisler that the police that Dylan's story about him having once met Elizabeth Short at Hollywood Bar was correct. Hearing that Geisler's habeas corpus motion was on its way, and knowing that they had no evidence to answer it, the DA's office quietly issued a statement that the police had insufficient evidence to hold their hot suspect. Avoiding reporters and further statements about the matter, Horrell and the fake psychiatrist, River, tried to lay low until the Dylan catastrophe drifted off into the smog. Wow. Oh, yeah, that was funny. Accusing Horrell of a high-handed bungling and legal methods in the reopened Black Dahlia investigation, City Councilman Ernest Debs called for an inquiry into Dylan's false arrest and accused DeRiver of being a con artist. It was discovered that DeRiver was neither a doctor nor a trained psychiatrist. And the institution in which he claimed to have studied had no record of him as a student. Subsequently, DeRiver was indicted for forging narcotic prescriptions and resigned from the LAPD. That's it. My sofa, it's old, but it's comfy. It's bouncy, it's comfy. On January 22nd, 1949, Leslie Dillon walked out of Central into the streets of Los Angeles where he was shaken but a free man. With the release of Dillon, the Black Dahlia case was reconfirmed on the grand jury's agenda. It was scheduled to be the last investigation of the 1949 grand jury's term, when the mayoral election would be safely concluded. Harry Lawson, an independent man of integrity, was appointed grand jury foreman, and Frank B. Jemison is a highly respected district attorney investigator and was assigned to reinvestigate the murder of Elizabeth Short. But the Black Dahlia case was rapidly growing cold, and the forest of the disinformation planted in 1947 had grown quite thick. The path that Jameson and the impaneled jury would have to take through the Byzantine maze of civic corruption was dark and tangled, far deeper and far darker than the few good men chosen to serve on the jury could ever expect. What a fuckaroo. Your chains hate your sofa. Yeah, I think we're pretty much the same, Patty, with all that. Just seen if my son messaged me. Okay. Oh, you going to bed, Alberta? Alrighty, you have a good night's sleep, or at least try to. Yeah, fuckaroo. Last night I was calling somebody fuckface. That would have been KJ. She pisses me off, man. Alrighty, chapter 16, Smog Alert. Smuggler. Okay. You like the fuckaroo. To the average citizen, the grand jury is a sequestered legal procedure within the synchronicity precincts of jurisprudence, and few know the mechanics of the process and its pitfalls. That was a mouthful. In a system designed to avoid bias and collusion, each of the 75 Los Angeles Supreme Court judges select two prospective jurors known to be community stalwarts of trust and integrity. The list of the 150 is then called down to 30 names, which are placed in the selection box. 19 of the names are then randomly drawn, and these selected jurors serve for 1 year on the grand jury, which reviews pressing criminal matters for possible indictment. The presiding judge for the Supreme Court selects the grand jury foreman, and then the jury works with the district attorney's office and the police and the sheriff's department in reviewing the scheduled cases and calling on witnesses to testify. All sessions are closed and the records sealed unless an investigation results in an indictment. While the jury selection system ensures the integrity of the jury, the grand jury also depends on the integrity of the law enforcement agencies that render testimony and submit evidence on the scheduled cases. Well, that's going to be hard in this case. The jury's decisions are weighed upon the evidence and the testimony brought before it. However, if the district attorney, the investigators, or the police department are corrupt or dishonest, it gravely impedes the jury's just decision-making process, which is what I wanted to say. Like, how? How is this even going to work? They're all corrupt. They're all part of the mob. In 1949, the Los Angeles District Attorney William Simpson and the upper echelons of the law enforcement agencies were in league with the power brokers at City Hall. And while the grand jury foreman Harry Lawson and the district attorney investigator Frank Jemison were honest men, they soon found themselves lost in the dark and tangled jungles of power and influence that had overtaken the city. Like, this Black Dahlia case had no chance. Assigned to the case in October 1949, Jemison was assured by Chief Worrell and Assistant Joe Reed that he would have their total cooperation in supplying the grand jury with whatever information they might need from within the police files. Chief Worrell went so far as to assign Finis Brown to assist Jemison in his investigation of the Black Dahlia case. Few people knew at the time that Finis Brown was a gangster squad operative, and his loyalties were to the corrupt LAPD inner circle. I'm sick of hearing this shit. Aren't you? Like, out of like Teresa and Deb and hi KCG, how you doing? Like, it's just pissing me off because it's like wherever this case has no chance, wherever we turn, it's corruption, corruption, corruption. They know, people know this, so get the fuck rid of them. Goodbye. Like, do their own, I don't know, hire new cops, do something. There's something that should have been done. This is insane. Few people knew at the time that Finis Brown was a gangster squad operative, and his loyalties were to corrupt the LAPD inner circle. Finis found himself in a delicate situation. His brother Thad Brown, who had become chief of the detective division, was a protege of Norman Chandler and was known to be Chandler's choice for the next police chief. In his gangster squad assignments, Finis had to be cautious and avoid casting shadows on his brother's good name. Early on, Harry Hansen had discovered that Finis was a member of the gangster squad and concluded that Chief Worrell, Big Jack Donahue, that guy's a piece of shit too, and the gangster squad were deliberately misdirecting the Black Dahlia investigation. And when he learned that Worrell had assigned Finis as the liaison to Jemison, Hansen wanted little to do with the predictable grand jury inquiry. In the early weeks of this investigation, Jemison, along with his assistant Walter Morgan, prepared a history of the Black Dahlia case and a lengthy list of suspects. Prior to hearing the Dahlia case, the 1949 grand jury was scheduled to conduct a number of other inquiries into criminal matters involving racketeering within the city. During the investigation into the Sunset Strip Wars, the numerous attempts to assassinate Mickey Cohen, and the murder of 6 of his henchmen, a secret conference was held with Cohen and his attorney, Sam Rummel. It was attended by Simpson, Lawson, and Jemison. In the course of the meeting, Cohen and his attorney agreed to appear before the grand jury and tell all regarding the rackets in the LA payoffs to police and the sheriff's department and Jack Dragna's personal vendetta against him. His testimony was to include disclosure that the LA police had tried to shake him down for a series of $20,000 payments to avoid raids on his betting parlors and prostitution rings. Part of the deal that Sam Rummel made with the grand jury was immunity from prosecution as well as the assignment of a bodyguard by the California Attorney General to protect Cohen from Dragna and the gangster squad enforcers within the LAPD who followed and harassed Cohen wherever he went. Rummel had informed the state's attorney general, Fred Hauser, that he believed certain officers within the LAPD were motivated to assassinate his client. This is fucked up. Hey, legs for days. It does help me so much. Thank you, Faith. Yeah, I know it was you, Kira. I just didn't know if you wanted me to say your name. That's all. Teresa, hello. Hello, Faith. We're gonna have serve. At Hauser's request, the LAPD and the Sheriff's Department agreed to withdraw their officers who had been keeping Cohen under constant surveillance, and the Attorney General assigned Special Agent Harry Cooper to protect Cohen until his grand jury testimony scheduled for July 28, 1949. But on the night of Wednesday, July 20th, Cohen was exiting Sherry's nightclub on the Sunset Strip with his girlfriend, Dee David, henchman Needy Herbert, and Cooper when gunmen opened rapid fire from behind a billboard across the street. In his testimony, the Kofor Community Committee, Bernard Rudetsky, manager of Sherry's, described what occurred. Mr. Rudetsky says, every night that Mickey came in for the protection of my customers, I sort of watched the place and walked around outside and inside. When he would come out, I would walk over and tell the parking lot boys to have the cars ready for him. And when Mickey came out, came out with Nettie and his girl. D. David, and Harry Cooper, the Attorney General's man, who had been with him every night. I used to talk to Harry every night. He was a likable sort of fellow. The night when they came out, I walked toward them at the steps. I was there talking to Harry Cooper when Mickey's 2 cars pulled up. I was facing out. Cooper had his head turned to the side, and D. David had her back facing south. Mickey was facing south when these shots came. They sounded like firecrackers to me. I saw the people falling on the sidewalk. I realized then that it was shots from across the street. I had no pistol or anything with me, so I ran back to my car where I kept one in the glove compartment and I started to cross the street. Floribel Muir of the Mirror and Daily News in New York, she came over with me. I had a big light and we started searching around. We found the shotgun slugs there. I walked down the stone embankment, the steps there, and the car had been on a dead end street. And by that time, they backed out and got away. I came back and there was a lot of excitement and confusion. We tried to get ambulances and we aided the injured. I stood out there in the street thinking it was a real professional job. Senator Toby, where was Mickey all this time? Mr. Ruditsky says he was hit in the shoulder. Toby says, was he down? Rudetsky says, this fellow, Frank Nicolai, put him in his car. He took Harry Cooper and Mickey and drove them to the hospital immediately. The others were on the street. Nettie Herbert and the girl, D. David, they were lying on the sidewalk, and we moved them as far as we could and got them out of the way in case of any further trouble. They fired, I think, 7 blasts. I think it was 12 gauge shotgun, and they plugged them pretty good. Senator Toby says, were there no clues? And Rudetsky says, as far as I know, no. Yeah, very dirty, 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 disgusting cops. I mean, even the judges, and they're all paid off by the mob. Like, this is crazy. The Fusillade wounded Cohen in the show. I don't even know how to say that word. Fusillade? Wounded Cohen in the shoulder. D. David was seriously wounded in the back. 3 slugs shattered Nettie Herbert's spine. Bodyguard Harry Cooper was hit twice in the abdomen, and Floribel was slightly wounded in the butt by a ricochet. So much for a bodyguard because he wasn't even carrying a gun. So that's strange. Nettie Herbert died several hours later at the Queen of Angels Hospital. Harry Cooper was given only a slim chance of survival. When the shooting was reported in LA newspapers, Angelinos was mystified over why the California Attorney General had assigned Officer Cooper to protect a notorious gangster. Cooper lived but refused to talk about it. However, to those who knew him, in the sorry, to those few who knew the inside story, it was obvious that someone had leaked information regarding Cohen's forthcoming testimony before the grand jury about payoffs to the LAPD and the sheriff's department. And whoever was behind the latest rubbo attempt was willing to open fire on a busy boulevard while Cohen was standing with a group of people and a state officer. It spoke of desperation. Oh. Last hair to shave. Yes, legs for days. I still haven't even watched all of that. I've been trying to keep up, but having your own channel, it's like you got to keep up with what you're already doing, and oh, but yeah, that one's just as messed up. As the only press witness to the shooting, columnist Floribel Muir scooped her rivals and was one of the few to note that Gangster Squad officer Sergeant Daryl Murray happened to be a patron of Sherry's that night. Murray was there with his wife, an attractive blonde, who was seen getting up from their table and exiting the nightclub just as Mickey Cohen's party was getting ready to leave. Lawrence Vale, a witness who lived across the street on Sunset Boulevard in an apartment at 971 North Hammond, told the Examiner that he was awake when he heard the gunfire, which was followed by voices and the sound of running feet. Looking out his window, he saw a pretty blonde running to a gray Buick two-door sedan parked on the street outside the window. One man was at the wheel, another was already in the back seat, and a third man and the blonde were hurriedly getting into the car. Come on, Chucky, let's get out of here, the woman said as she jumped into the Buick, which rode off into the night and headed west on Sunset. Whoa. The witness was quoted by the Examiner as stating that he believed the blonde was inside Sherry's, watching Cohen come out just ahead of him as a signal to the two gunmen waiting across the street, while the third man waited at the wheel of the car. He described the woman as about 35, 120 pounds, shapely, with blonde hair combed straight back. She was wearing a dark suit and no hat. It was a close description of the wife of Sergeant Daryl Murray. Wow. Very. Yeah, I absolutely agree, Faith. See, that stuff stinks, Great Dane. Oh, I haven't used it at all. Like, I used it a few times. My mom had it, so I was always stealing it from her. I just couldn't handle the damn smell. I'm sure it probably doesn't stink like it used to, but oh, I'll never forget it. Tommy guns. To those who knew of Cohen's scheduled appearance before the grand jury in his pending testimony, it was clear who would be highly motivated to have him silenced. When State Attorney General Fred Hauser was asked by the examiner why he had assigned Harry Cooper as Cohen's bodyguard, he tersely replied that it was because Cohen's attorney Sam Ramos suspected certain officers in the LAPD had reason to assassinate his client. While recovering in the hospital, Cohen decided it was healthier not to testify before the grand jury, and as a postscript to the Vicecapades of 1949, Sam Ramo was assassinated by shotgun blast as he entered his Laurel Canyon home several weeks later. Police were unable to round up the suspect, of course, because it's corrupt. It was horrible in the 70s. I'm an 80s baby, 84. Although there was a concerted effort within the corridors of power at City Hall to keep the lid on the inquiry into civic corruption until after the November mayoral elections, the lid popped off when the grand jury began looking into Brenda Allen prostitution ring scandal. St. Charles Stoker, the honest vice squad officer who had arrested Brenda Allen, testified before the grand jury that he had discovered that the syndicate, Madame, was allowed to operate her exclusive Hollywood all call girl ring because she had been paying off top officials in administrative vice, including Sergeant Stoker's superior, Sergeant Elmer Jackson, and the officer in charge of administrative vice, Lieutenant Rudy Wellpot. Stoker also disclosed that it was Brenda Allen who had been in the car with Sergeant Jackson when Roy Pee Wee Lewis had been shot by Jackson on February 21st, 1947, in front of her former residence on Nice Street and Fedora Avenue. Crazy. My grandmother always read the detective magazines, and when I was a kid, and would give them to me. I guess that is why I love true crime. Yeah, quite possibly. I'm still trying to think of how or why I even got into it. I know for sure the haunted, like the paranormal, was because of me growing up in a haunted house. With the plus I've had a lot of yeah, I guess it would be murders and stuff in my family. One was family member is a murderer and the other one was murdered. I've just always want justice. And I have a huge library of like all true crime and paranormal. The Daily News leaked Stoker's testimony and brought forth the fact that there were wire recordings made by Stoker and his electronic surveillance expert, Jim Boss, of payoff meetings between Hollywood's leading madame and top police officials, as well as of intimate associations involving Brenda's girls and some of the top brass at City Hall. It was rumored that one of the recordings concerned a conversation relating to the murder of Elizabeth Short. Really? I really hope they listen to those recordings. You graduated in 1984? I'll be 39, yeah, March 1st. The Daily News charged that these recordings were well known to Chief Horrell, but he had suppressed them and taken no action concerning the criminal activities of his officers. As a result, Horrell was called for the grand jury along with Sergeant Albert Jackson, Lieutenant Rudy Wellpot, and Assistant Chief Joseph Reed. They denied the accusations under oath and claimed that Sergeant Stoker had perjured himself. Bullshit. I bet there is recordings. Yeah, this is about the Black Dahlia. It's a really good book. It covers the mob and everything. But as Stoker had observed, Brenda Allen was as shrewd as they come. After Stoker arrested her in the presence of the Daily News photographers, the notorious Brenda Allen call girl ring became public knowledge, and the district attorney's office had no choice but to bring pandering charges and place her in jail. But Brenda knew too much. She knew all about the syndicate influence at City Hall and the payoffs to LAPD officials. She knew too much about the private life of public dysenterities, and she knew too much about the murder of Elizabeth Short. She had it all on tape. And she knew she had City Hall by the testimonies. She had all the cards. If she played them right, Brenda publicly came forward and confirmed that Stoker had been telling the truth, and he had obtained copies of the surveillance recordings from Jim Boss and kept them in a safe deposit box in a bank vault in downtown Los Angeles. Holy shit. Is that your birthday as well? That's awesome. I think I'll go live that day. I don't know, have some drinks. You should come on panel with me. When Brenda was escorted by the grand jury foreman to her bank on Broadway to retrieve the incriminating tapes, vast crowds of Angelinos showed up to witness the event. Sure enough, there were the tape recordings, along with a number of other documents and items that Brenda had secreted to ensure her well being, should the need arise. Like, holy fuck, really? I miss the 80s. I love the 80s and the 90s. Among the items was a mysterious photograph of some lilies that had been sent to her apartment shortly after the murder of Elizabeth Short. The photograph of the lilies was printed in the Examiner, and when asked about it, Brenda explained that the lilies had been After the grand jury list, sorry, the lilies had been sent to her in 1947 by Sergeant Jackson, along with a revealing note. But neither Brenda nor the district attorney's office would divulge the note's contents. So she was sent a vase of lilies with a card that was rumored to have referred to the Black Dahlia. Really? Hi, Vanita. It's okay. There's always the replay crew. I usually, when these lives are kind of long, I just put them on in the background whenever I'm cleaning or even having a shower or bath. So here's a lily she got with a note talking about Dahlia. Oops. I'll post all these photos in my community tab. After the grand jury listened to Brenda's tapes, Chief Clemens Horrell, Assistant Chief Joe Reed, Sergeant Elmer Jackson, and Lieutenant Rudy Wellpot were indicted for perjury and bribery on August 16th, 1949. Horrell resigned from the police department, but when the wire recordings and documents vanished, fuck's sake, are you? Of course they vanished. But when the wire recordings and documents vanished from the district attorney's safe, and Brenda Allen decided not to testify, Horrell, Reed, Jackson, and Wellpot were acquitted for lack of evidence. Soon freed from jail, Brenda resumed plying her trade. That is some bullshit. Ironically, the only officer to be publicly punished as a result of the 1949 grand jury investigation was Sergeant Charles Stoker, the honest cop. This is so fucked up. So the good cop gets punished, and apparently all this stuff disappears. He was also reduced in rank and placed on the streets as a traffic cop. Stoker was subsequently framed by the LAPD on burglary charges and found guilty of insubordination and conduct unbecoming an officer. Oh my God, this pisses me right off. Publicly revealed and ridiculed in the Los Angeles Times and the Hearst newspaper, Stoker, a devout Catholic, spent the next 25 years of his life working as a brakeman in the Southern Pacific Railway yards of Los Angeles, where he died a forgotten man on March 10th, 1975. Wow. A similar fate befell Sergeant Jack Clemens, the first officer on the scene following the death of Marilyn Monroe. Ooh. Clemens insisted that Marilyn Monroe had been murdered, and the LAPD officers in the intelligence division, the former gangster squad, had covered up the crime. Two of the officers named in the cover-up were Archie Case and James Ahern. As a result, false charges were drummed up against Clemens, and he too was dismissed for insubordination and conduct unbecoming an officer and was publicly revealed in the press. Holy shit. Like, I knew Marilyn Monroe was murdered, but just reading it and how they did it, these women do not deserve this. They deserve justice. And then this piece of shit, Brenda Allen, the girl who is running the sex ring here with all the whores, she actually has the balls to send this to the honest cop. It says, just a line to say hello after a brief vacation. Thank you for your courtesy in the past. Sincerely, Brenda Allen. Little bitch. Among the revelations testified by Stoker before the 1949 grand jury was the existence in Los Angeles of a syndicate abortion ring, protected by Lieutenant Willie Burns and members of a gangster squad. This is really making me mad. Yeah. I'm wondering if it was even Kennedy. I think he didn't have a choice because she had a big mouth. And because he was yapping and told her things, they were scared she was going to tell. So they had her murdered. Kennedy didn't want her murdered, but she was murdered because she knew too much. And they already knew that she popped pills and she drank, so that's how they made a book. Disgusting. Operated by a group of medical doctors who were paying protection money, Stoker told the grand jury that the leader of the abortion ring was Dr. Leslie C. Adrain, whose office was in room 417 at 1052 West 6th Street in Los Angeles. Stoker found that Adrain had a criminal record as an abortionist and worked under a number of aliases, including Dr. C.J. Morris and Dr. fucking Scott. Wow. Oh, Rihanna's singing now? Yes, I've seen Hollywood Graveyard. He talked about it also? Really? Okay, I'm gonna see that. I haven't seen that one. The designated LAPD unit responsible for apprehending and asserting abortionists was the Gangster Squad, but Stoker had discovered that they only arrested abortionists outside a Drain's abortion ring who were not paying protection money. In Stoker's book about his bitter experience with the LAPD, Thicker and Thieves, he refers to two Gangster Squad detectives as enforcers of the abortion ring payoff racket. When the detectives discovered that Stoker was conducting an investigation into Dr. Adrain, they threatened Stoker and told him to shut down the investigation. I need like a pen because I want to read this book too. I'm always writing in my books. It's like a habit. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I move you? Precious girl. Oh, the big stretch. Here's my co-host. Yeah, you're so cute. She's funny. When the detectives discovered that Stoker was conducting an investigation into Dr. Adrain, they threatened Stoker and told him to shut down his investigation. The two detectives, once again, proved to be officers Archie Case and James Ahern, who also worked the Black Dahlia case for Big Jack Donahue. Princess. And were involved in the arrest and grilling of Leslie Dillon for Dr. DeRiver. Stoker's revelations about Dr. Leslie Adrain and police payoffs came at the same time that Detective Harry Hansen was pushing for the arrest of Dr. Adrain in connection with the murder of Elizabeth Short. Underwood had stated that there was an abortionist whom Harry Hansen suspected of being involved in the murder of Elizabeth Short, but Chief Horrell had blocked the arrest. Wow. In an interview that appeared in the Pasadena Star News in 1987, 40 years after the crime, Finis Brown finally hinted at the truth. Holy crap. Yeah, you can't go on the laptop. Nope. Not tonight. Nope. There you go. I'm moving. So here's the article. It says Brown has an idea of who the Dahlia murderer was. A theory he has never made public. I didn't want the newspapers to get any of it, he explains. Now, after 40 years, he has decided to reveal it. He believes that Elizabeth Short was killed by a man who ran a Hollywood abortion clinic. The girls were going to this doctor, he said. We couldn't prove he was the killer, but some of the things I found out he was doing to some of these girls made me think he was the one. The doctor committed suicide 2 years after the murder, and as Hanson and Brown found him and were about to start asking questions. Wow. Dr. Leslie C. Adrain allegedly committed suicide in his home in Pasadena, May 19, 1949. As an operative of the gangster squad who was positioned in the homicide division, Finis Brown knew far more about the Black Dahlia case than he ever revealed. In examining the grand jury notes and testimony recently discovered in the Black Dahlia files at the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office, it becomes clear that Brown had been strategically placed as liaison to the grand jury by Horrell and Reed to mislead the grand jury's investigation. This is insane. In the process, narrowing Jemison's list of suspects in the Dahlia case to the prime suspects to be investigated by the grand jury, Brown led Jemison to believe that the prime suspects to be investigated were Leslie Dillon, Mark Hansen, Cleo Short, and a relatively new suspect, Henry Huber Hoffman. And the Black Dahlia files clarify that during the term of the 1949 grand jury, the hearings centered on those four prime suspects. As the opening of each grand jury hearing in the Black Dahlia case, it was formally stated that the jury at this time is engaged in a review of the records and information of the Los Angeles Police Department regarding suspects in the murder of Elizabeth Short, with particular attention to such evidence has been procured and gathered or might be obtained concerning the following persons. One, Leslie Dillon, which we know didn't do it, and two, and or Mark Hansen, and or three, Harry Hoffman, and four, Cleo Short. That's her father. He didn't do it. Like, are you freaking kidding me? I'm wondering that also if he was killed and it was made to look like a suicide. Or he did it himself because they knew they were going to catch him. Now we are paying attention to the material in hand as to whether or not any of those persons could be charged with that crime. Yes, Brown knew from the beginning that all four prime suspects had alibis, lacked evidence, and advanced medical training, and could not possibly have committed the crime. Although Mark Hansen had been cited as one of the suspects, logic dictated that if he had murdered Elizabeth Short, he would hardly have mailed the belongings from her purse to the examiner, which included her address book with his name embossed on the cover. And Jemison and the jury soon learned from Detective Harry Hansen's testimony that only someone with advanced medical knowledge could have bisected the body. In addition, on the night of January 14, 1947, a number of witnesses had placed Mark Hansen at the opening of a movie theater in Long Beach at a party that followed at Long Beach Hilton. Barney Vandersteen, Mark Hansen's associate, who had purchased Bugsy Siegel's share in the Florentine Gardens, testified to the grand jury that, after the party on the night in question, Hansen had been a guest at his home in Redondo Beach until well after 3 a.m. on the morning of January 15th. It has to be the doctor, that fucked up psycho doctor. Right? But the mob and the cops are involved as well as covering it up. And he was the one that killed Jean as well. The fucked up abortionist guy, Dr. Scott. Jamison says, as of this date, would you say that you had seen Mark Hansen in the city of Long Beach? Vandersteen states, yes, I have, and would like to refer to the records of an opening of a theater and a party given by Charlie Silkeros. Jamison says, in other words, Mr. Vandersteen, we may be able to establish, no doubt, that the date of this particular occasion was a theater when the theater was open. Vandersteen says there's no question about that. Jemison, on that occasion, did you see Mark Hansen? Vandersteen, yes. Jemison, did you spend some time there looking at moving picture as you remember? Vandersteen, yes. Jemison, thereafter, what did you do? Vandersteen, after that, we drove to the Hilton Hotel in which there was a party arranged for the guests who attended the opening. Jemison, who would you say saw Mark over at the Hilton? Vandersteen says, yes, I sat down with him and had dinner at his table. Jemison, did that last till sometime late in the evening or the morning? Sorry. About what time did it let out? Did you leave? Vandersteen, I would say it was after 2 o'clock. Well, after 2. Jemison, after you left the Hilton, where did you go from there? Vandersteen, we went from Hilton Hotel to my home. Jemison, did Mark Hansen go with you to your home? Vandersteen, yes, he followed me in the car. Jemison, did it take some time to get to your home in Redondo Beach? Vandersteen, yes, it took a long time because the weather was bad. Yeah, that I can get I agree with, but this doctor, oof, he is a little warped. Like he's psychotic. I never liked that song, Umbrella. I don't think I ever would. I just don't. I don't know. Something about it, I just don't like it. Although Mark Hansen had been populated by Brown as one of the four prime suspects, it soon became clear to Lieutenant Jemison that Hansen had a solid alibi, and the police investigators had known from the beginning where he had been on the night in question. Despite the Dillon catastrophe, Brown also pushed Leslie Dillon as the prime suspect. But after journeying to San Francisco to investigate Dillon's whereabouts on the day of the Black Dahlia's murder, Jemison discovered that Dillon, too, had an alibi that had already been established in the course of the police investigation. In his brief testimony before the grand jury, Detective Harry Hansen confirmed the alibis of both Mark Hansen and Leslie Dillon. He also acknowledged that in 1947, he and Brown had checked on the whereabouts of Cleo Short on the night of January 14th and determined that he could not have committed the crime. When questioned by Jemison, Detective Harry Hansen said he knew nothing about the fourth prime suspect, Harry Huber Hoffman. That's where he used to live. Henry Hubert Hoppin was introduced as a suspect shortly after the Dillon catastrophe in January 1949. The police were desperate to present another plausible Black Dahlia suspect before the grand jury, and Hoppin proved to be a windfall patsy for Gangster Squad detectives Case and Ahern, an ex-convict once jailed for mail fraud. Hoppin had been the manager of the Astor Motel at 2101 South Flower Street. His ex-wife Clara, who drove him in 1948, informed the police that she believed she had been involved in the murder of the Black Dahlia. Huh? She said she had found a bundle of bloodied woman's clothing in Unit 9 of the motel, along with a considerable amount of blood on the floor and mattress at about the time of the Black Dahlia murder. Excuse me. Gangster Squad Chief Willie Burns assigned operatives Case and Ahern to check out her story. The two detectives spent months trying to build a case against Hoffman for the murder of Elizabeth Short and to establish that the murder had taken place in Unit 9 at the Astor Motel. Subsequently, it was leaked to the press just juror to the commencement of the grand jury inquiry into Black Dahlia's case that the LAPD had discovered the murder site. Really? Sorry, I'm just trying to see how long this chapter is. Oh, okay. The the LAPD had discovered the murder site. On September 13th, 1949, the Herald Express article headline stated that the Black Dahlia murder site found. It was reported that the room where the murder took place was less than a 15-minute drive and a beeline from the vacant lot where the nude and bisected body of the girl was discovered, and the room was on one of Los Angeles' busiest streets. Although Finis Brown managed to have Harry Hubert Hoffman listed as prime suspect by the grand jury, the suspicions once again proved to be without evidence or plausibility. Clara Hoffman's accusations against her husband kept changing, along with the supposed location where she found the bloodied mattress and the clothing. Hoffman submitted to a lie detector test and was conducted under Jemison's supervision, and he passed with flying colors. After thousands of man hours spent running down false trails in the grand jury investigation, all four prime suspects put forward by Brown and presented by the district attorney and the LAPD to the grand jury in the Black Dahlia case proved to be patiently innocent of the crime, and it was apparent that Brown had known of their innocence from the beginning. These people make me fucking sick. The testimony of Sergeant Conwell Keller of the gangster squad that Brown had secretly been a liaison of Willie Burns aroused suspicions that the grand jury had been misled, and in the midst of the grand jury hearings, an unsettling event occurred involving Brown that confirmed the suspicions of the jury foreman Lawson and investigator Jemison. On the morning of July 14th, 1949, Lola Titus, a former dancer at the Florentine Gardens, entered Mark Hansen's home behind the nightclub and shot Hansen twice. Holy fuck. Shot Hansen twice while he was shaving in his bathroom, wounded him in the abdomen and the arm. Hansen was rushed to the hospital. Remaining conscious en route, Hansen kept screaming, "Get me Brown, get me Finis Brown. I've got to speak to Brown." While being transported from the ambulance into the emergency room of the Hollywood Receiving Hospital, a reporter for the Hollywood Citizen News noted that Hansen was hysterically calling for Finnis. Perplexed by Hansen's plea, the reporter did some investigating, learned that Brown had often been seen at the Florentine Gardens. It had been rumored by several former employees that one of their assistant managers at the Gardens was an undercover cop on the take. It proved to be true, and it was Finnis Brown. Lola Titus, Titus. Anyways, Lola had once been a girlfriend of Mark Hansen, and when Hansen rejected her, she tried to blackmail him over shady syndicate operations under the Perseverance. Shortly after Hansen confided in Brown about his problem, she was arrested for narcotics trafficking and posing for lewd photographs. Suspecting she had been set up by Mark Hansen, she shot him in revenge. It just keeps going and going and going. Although the LAPD tried to squelch Brown's connection to Mark Hansen, rumors about his undercover work at the Florentine Gardens began circulating at the district attorney's office. Mystified by Brown's involvement in the shooting, Lawson asked Brown about the incident. However, Brown carefully skirted around the nature of his association with Mark Hansen. Lawson, what was your involvement in the Lola shooting? Brown, Lola, a short time before the shooting, I think around March of April this year, was called to my attention by informants. I was told that she was involved in lewd pictures and lewd photography as a model and also possibly connected up with some narcotics. I secured a picture of her in the nude and checked out records and found that she had been a dance hall girl. The point of my questioning was, when you learned Lola was the one that shot Hanson, why weren't you surprised you got a call? I wasn't surprised because as far as Hanson knew, I was the only one who knew Lola. You had discussed Lola with him? I had, yes. He had given me some information on her. Were you one of the officers that had some part and frequented his nightclub, cooperating with him with respect to bad characters, persons, or of ill repute that he knew? That's right. And that took place in what period of time? Brown states 1947, first of 48, through 48 to the present time. Did you know when Hanson was taken to the hospital that he said, "Get Brown for me, get in touch with Brown"? Brown said, "Yeah, that's what I understand." How did you get that information? Well, that was through when I came into the next day, the newspaper reporters told me that. I see. Did you talk to Mark Hansen about the matter then? I did that night around 8 o'clock, 7:30 or 8 o'clock. I went to his room in the hospital and talked to him. He told me that it was Lola who did it. Well, I've always been curious to know why Mark Hansen wanted to see you and was shot on account of this Lola thing. Although jury members felt that they had been misled and police officials had withheld information, the Black Dahlia case had been scheduled at the end of their term, and there was no time to re examine witnesses and redirect their questions to other suspects before their adjournment on December 29th. The grand jury did, however, issue a seething rebuke of the LAPD for deliberating, covering up details of the crime, and protecting underworld elements who were involved in murders, crimes, and racketeering within the city. The grand jury final report stated, this jury has observed indications of payoffs in connection with protection of vice and crime and gross misconduct on the part of some law enforcement officers. Testimony given by certain investigation officers working this Black Dahlia case was clear and well defined, while other officers showed apparent evasiveness. There was not sufficient time left to the jury to complete this investigation, and the grand jury recommends that the 1950 grand jury continue to probe into the Black Dahlia case. An article that appeared in the Herald Express on January 12, 1950, quoted the grand jury's final report, enumerating the jurors' findings that some LAPD officers were receiving payoffs from gangsters, bookmakers, and abortionists, and there had been a cover up in the Black Dahlia investigation. So this is in 1950. They're finally coming to that conclusion. She was murdered in 1947. Although grand jury foreman Harry Lawson called for a continuation of the investigation into the Black Dahlia case by the next impaneled jury of 1950, it didn't happen. The jury files don't even tell me it was gone. The jury files, the transcripts of testimony, and Lieutenant Frank Jemson's notes were all eventually carted off to the cave to the cave they call LAPD warehouse in East LA, where the truth hidden in Jemson's investigation papers would gather dust and remain in the dark for more than half a century. Wow. All right, I am done reading for the night. My throat is killing me, and I'm hungry. Lady Gaga got to sing as well. I wish she would have picked a different song though, instead of Umbrella. I don't know. It's just I never liked that one. I did, however, enjoy all her other songs. My son's still not home. That's weird. I really need to see what he's doing. He's got to be coming home. Unless tomorrow's a PA day and I don't know it. That happens a lot. I'm actually gonna check. Yeah, I figured she sang a lot more than Umbrella. I said I never care for that song. I know he's gone. It's crazy. He's hanging out with Austin. They play guitar together. So he's having fun, which I'm glad he is. To sit in this godforsaken fucking house. You'll watch it when it's up on YouTube, yeah. Oh, all right. Well, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get something small to eat. I'm hungry and I need a big drink. My throat's killing me. Tomorrow, I'll be back with uh the book Lethal Marriage, the Ken and Barbie murders, Carla Homolka and Paul Bernardo. All right, you guys have a great night. Thanks for joining me. I'll be reading more of the Black Dahlia on well, it's every Sunday and every Thursday. Every Monday is Carla Homolka and Paul Bernardo, that book. All right, you guys have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow at 7. Bye.